Welcome to Taking Care of Your Business Ideas for Leaders Who are Humble, Hungry, and Smart. I'm delighted this morning to welcome John Schmidt and Roger Marco from McQuilling Partners, Inc. McQuilling is a maritime logistics and services company founded in 1972 with a heavy presence in the energy sector. They also have affiliated companies focused on the oil industry. John has been with the firm since 1992, serves as its CEO. Roger has also a long tenure with McQuilling since 1992, and Roger serves as president. John and Roger, so delighted to have you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
So we're here to talk about one of the programs of Vistage that has a very powerful model. It's called the Vistage Inside program. I'm going to give a little background on it. Vistage Inside is bringing a Vistage group inside a company. John, you are a member of my CEO group, and Roger, you are a member of the Vistage Inside group. And we're going to get into the history of how it was that McQuilling has made this investment in its future by putting 12 of its leaders in the Vistage Inside group to really help turbocharge their development. We'll get to more of that, but this is a novel conversation because, John, you are in one Vistage group. Roger, you are in a separate Vistage group that are complementary. But first, we need to learn more about McQuilling Partners. Tell us about McQuilling Partners and its mission. Let's start with you, John, and then I'll invite you, Roger, to supplement.
Thank you, Jeff. McQuilling, as you pointed out in your introduction, was formed in 1972 with Tom McQuilling and John DeSantis. John DeSantis still serves as our chairman emeritus. So we've been in business the company's been in business for 53 years. It started off really down in 23 Battery Place, downtown, which was the mecca in New York for all of maritime service companies. In '95, we moved out from the New York City area to out here to Long Island, where our headquarters is. Roger sits in our Houston office. So our mission really has been to continue to grow within our industry and affiliated industries, tangential industries, if you will, and to become the best at really what we do. We've had significant growth in our company from sort of the late 90s through to current to today. So we've had a very active, say, 25 years. Our number of offices have increased from 1 to 10 worldwide, and in that increase and in that expansion, we've also increased our sort of our product offerings, either via McQuilling or via our affiliated companies. So our goal and our mission really is to continue to grow, but continue to make our employees a big part of that growth and a big part of through ownership, through partnership, and have a sort of skin in the game.
Sure, and through your investment in their development.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
And so we've been very successful with that. I think right now we're at 30 partners, but we'll see that continue to grow, sort of exponentially as the years go on. And that's really kind of us.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, John. Roger, what would you supplement what John said, telling us, digging down a little bit more into the affiliated businesses and a little bit more about your office and fill out the picture on McQuilling?
So first of all, in 2003 is when we started the Houston office, which was the same time we started our Singapore office. And I think those two offices starting was a springboard to the rest of, up to 10 offices that we have now. And from really, I would say, as John mentioned, the late 90s, we thought differently, I think, than all of the other shipbrokers here in the US, in that we really needed to be ahead of things instead of just worrying about the stuff that's right in front of you. Because it's very easy to do that in this business because it's very transactional. It's very much, it's the brokerage, the pure ship brokerage business traditionally was always about, well, we'll make as much money as we can this year and distribute it all and start again the next year. But, around that time that John mentioned, we started putting money away for expansion. And, that expansion wasn't just into our core business, but again, as John said, we were looking for the things that were, related to our business and the things that we had some knowledge of and that we could bring our perspective to, and also diversify this company from just a ship brokerage. And actually, we dropped the brokerage name. I'm trying to remember when that was, John. What year was that?
2009.
So we became McQuilling Partners just because we were more than just a ship brokerage.
Right. Thank you, Roger. And let's stay with you, Roger. Both of you have been with the firm since 1992. Roger, first tell us what drew you to the firm in 1992.
Well, I started as an intern. I started in the telex room in 1992. John came over from another company. He was, a successful broker already, and I really had no idea what this business was about. So I was at NYU at the time. We were still in Manhattan, so it was an easy internship for me because it was close by, and I wanted to get some exposure into international business, and I just became enamored with shipping and in general how we could be at that point. I think we were 25 people and we were dealing with every country in the world, dealing with all of the major oil companies and shipping companies. And it's kind of the best of both worlds. You're in a small company that really, the future could be anything, because we were a small fish in the big pond, but it just really was just so interesting to be able to talk to people from all over and to be exposed to so many different cultures. And there really isn't any business that's more tied into just international business than shipping. I mean, it really brings everybody closer together. And, I was talking to people in Russia before that was commonplace. We don't realize that now the world is so small. Back then, to get an international phone line to these countries, even in 1992, was challenging. And
Sure.
5 years before that, it was impossible in some, in some instances.
Yeah, and your offices, as we touched on, are far flung. You yourself have just returned from an extended trip in the Far East, and that's a routine part of your business. I loved hearing about you saying you joined as an intern, and in all of our conversations, I didn't know that. I love that intern program. There's a whole bunch of people from McQuilling I've met who have joined the firm through an internship program that has really served the firm extremely well in bringing in just some terrific talent. So kudos. Kudos to that. John, what drew you to the firm? You were an experienced broker at that point.
Yeah, well, I just to go back on your note there about the intern program, I'm glad you hit on that, and I was going to touch on it as well. We've expanded that over the past 25 years to really be, we've primarily grown organically. Saying that, I came from another brokerage shop that I was at for almost 10 years. Started in 1983 over at a competing brokerage shop, and that was after I had actually. That was a time when oil transportation, tanker transportation, and that industry was very, very depressed right after the oil shock of 1979. So it was very tough to get into the business. There were a lot of companies to get in, but it was very tough to get in. And I remember I interviewed around, I think, 25 or 26 different shops, which were in New York at the time. It's not that anymore. And interestingly enough, I had met and I'd come and interviewed with McQuilling in that early phase, and they didn't hire me. And I think that was probably the best thing that happened to me, because I wound up with this other organization that was more worldwide in scope, in terms of it was a London company with a New York office, and I worked in London for a little bit, and then came back here, and it was an older shop, so I really had access to a lot of big accounts that sort of came my way. I was really fortunate in that timing, and they allowed me to develop to the extent that I did, and it was just really an opportunity that I had met a fellow by the name of John Lucas at a function in New York in 1990, the end of 1990. We had I would say a similar vision, a similar concept about moving brokerage going forward. As Roger said earlier, brokerage would be, at the end of the year, take out all the money and start again fresh. And it was sort of you eat what you kill, and partnership was only in a few hands. And we had this vision of brokerage could be better than that, more all encompassing.
Yeah.
And so that's really what drew me here. I came back and interviewed with John DeSantis and several of the other guys, and it was a timely fit. It was a timely move, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, thanks, John. And I also didn't know one part of your story, which is that you applied and interviewed at McQuilling earlier in your career and didn't get the job. So that's a great message to any young folks who might be watching and listening to this. Hey, if the place, your dream job, doesn't hire you, don't give up.
Right.
Always opportunity. John, let's stick with you. Two-part question.
Yeah, sure.
The first part is, what led you to join my Vistage CEO Peer Advisory Group? And then I have a follow-up to that.
Sure. Well, I've been the president/CEO here for just over 20 years, and it's been very dynamic, our growth, as I mentioned earlier, right? And moving forward, there's obviously a huge learning curve. You're learning on the ground as a CEO. I don't think anybody ever trains to be a CEO, right? So that's that since 2005, I've been sort of learning on my own, and of course with assistance from my partners. But
and so what shifted?
So what shifted was one of our banks had a seminar, if you will, last July, and was talking about, had said, well, we're bringing in this group Vistage, and they brought you in, Jeff, right? They were bringing in this group Vistage to talk about what Vistage does and how Vistage can help you as a CEO in your business. And sat in that seminar, and I don't normally go to those because I'm either too busy or something else going on. And something just said to me, "Hey, you know what? Let me see what this is about." And it was a great seminar. I couldn't hide in there because you spotted me right away. So you were kind of asking me questions in front of the group, but it was something that really caught my eye, and what Vistage had and has to offer, and I've been with Vistage, officially since I guess the middle of October of last year, and it's been a real big progress in my growth.
Sure. Yeah. No, John, I've in the time that I've known you, I've been impressed and struck by the fact that you're a lifelong learner. You're hungry for insight. You're hungry for perspective, and I've appreciated that about your engagement with the group. In very short order, John, I think it was actually in our onboarding session when you were joining the group. You were immediately drawn to the Vistage Inside program as a potential fit
Right.
for McQuilling's next generation of leaders. Take us through your thought process.
Yeah, actually, it was in our first one-on-one, Jeff.
Yes, yeah.
When you were presenting to me the different opportunities to myself and to McQuilling that Vistage offers, and I had been to, I guess at that point, 2 meetings, but I had been to the tri-state meeting, and
Yes.
I was just, I think Raj, correct me if I'm wrong, but I was trying to tell the guys and tell the board and tell Roger and just everything that I was gaining and absorbing and getting from being at the meetings and the speakers and everything that and all of the exercises that you go through, Jeff. And it's very hard to tell that to somebody, right? The experience that you do experience. And as you were talking to me, and right now, I'm sort of I'm in the back fairways of my career, not necessarily looking to, but obviously succession and transition is a big thing for us, right? And it's important we get it right, and we are going to get it right, and we are getting it right. And when you presented the various opportunities that Vistage could present to McQuilling, there were a number of them that stood out. But I thought initially the Vistage Inside was something that could cultivate the next, with Roger leading it, the next generation of leaders within the group. And it was great because it's something that I don't, have my fingerprints on, if you will. And I'm not there, and I'm not sitting. I'm not part of it, right?
Sure.
So it allows these next group, these next 12 people, to really feel free to, move forward and understand, and reap the benefits of what Vistage is.
Yeah, and step into leadership. And I want to pick up on one thing you said, John, that I appreciate. You started off by saying, you're in the back fairways of your career, but for every CEO, succession should be on the top 3 tasks.
Sure.
No matter what stage of life they're at. And on some level, in my own experience, many leaders recognize that, but very few of them take action on it and make investments and give it the kind of priority that you have. And I appreciate that about the way you think, that you're focused not only on the company in the present, but on time and time again, I've heard you say that you're deeply invested in the future of McQuilling long after you're gone, and you want it to flourish, and you view your legacy in that manner, which I really appreciate the macro view that you take of that. Let's turn to you, Roger. Thank you, John. Also a 2-part question. What were your initial impressions and expectations of the McQuilling Inside program when John first presented it?
So to start, when John brought this up, I thought not only was it a great idea, just the timing of it was perfect. And a large part of that is we had a lot of outgoing senior shareholders. And of that group of senior shareholders, there wasn't a lot of interest from that group in being leaders. And they really did not rise to the challenge, or really didn't have the interest in doing it. So, I was thinking, those guys were on their way out. We have a new group of young shareholders, and, we had an idea of who might be the future leaders. And you touched on it, Jeff, that, part of the job of being the CEO, and a big part of it, is figuring out the succession for the next CEO. Yeah. So I thought that this would be a great opportunity just to see, who of this young group is really going to rise to the occasion of being a leader. Because a lot of people want to have titles, but when they start looking into what that means, because especially most of them are revenue producers. Yeah. So when you move into that role, you have to take some of your revenue producing time and use it for management. And that's a sacrifice personally, from a monetary standpoint, potentially, but also just from being able to divide your mind into those two different thoughts, because they are in some ways complementary, but in some ways they do, conflict with each other. So you have to be the right kind of person that can handle both of those roles in the transition period. While, because as John, over the last 20 years, he had to continue to be a broker in those years too, or most of them. And, that's not something that's easy to balance. So the idea was bring this group together, see what we have for leaders. And, that's what I thought, that was my initial thoughts of what we would get out of this.
Yeah, thank you. One of the things that I really appreciate about what you said, Roger, is what I call the two-hat syndrome. Mm-hmm. I think when people are early in their leadership journey, they're really focused on their area of expertise and being really, really good at whatever their job function is, whatever department they're leading. And that's like, I got to get really, really good at one thing and contribute to the company through the one thing that I do. And then there's a point in one's leadership journey where there's a second hat, and that's the enterprise. It's not about me as an individual contributor or my department or my functional area, but I got to look after the company in its totality. And one of the true tests for leaders is when they're sitting around the leadership table of the firm. They got two hats. Are they gonna focus primarily on their functional area hat and the departmental hat, or are they going to focus more on the enterprise hat? And you're right, there's a creative tension in there, because what got them to the level that they're like a mid-level leadership is the expertise in one area. But what got them to be successful at that level is not going to get them to be successful at the next level, which is the ability to really look at the enterprise in its totality, including those areas that are not directly under your own supervisory control or responsibility. So I really appreciate your teasing that out, Roger. So going into it, you thought, okay, this sounds like it might be a good idea. The timing is good. What's been your actual experience, Roger?
It has been, well, first of all, I'll say personally, I first of all learned a lot about myself, and it's really helped me to understand just what's needed going forward, and the kind of effort that needs to be made, just to, I guess, think not just the way I've been thinking for the last 30 years, but to think differently. You have especially when you have, and I knew I had a great group, but I just realized it's sitting there for a whole day like that, where and people had to leave and get on the phone to some extent, but for the most part, people were really engaged. And we had people from different offices, myself being from Houston, we had someone from the Peru office, and we were together for such a long period that we don't usually get to do that.
Right.
And usually it's not where that focused. And so I'm really learning a lot, not just about myself, but about everybody that's in that group. And just I'm seeing the growth not only in myself, I'm seeing the growth in them too. So it's not just, I kind of wasn't thinking as much about just what it would do for everybody personally being in that environment, and what it would do for me just getting to spend time with people that I thought I knew well, that, just after we've only done 2 sessions so far, and I feel like I know them so much better now just from being in those sessions, because we've never been in that environment before.
Sure. Yeah. And I appreciate your touching on this, but the word I'll use is engagement. Your group is a highly engaged group. And I think to the extent that groups are fully present, as your team has been, fully engaged, which your team has been, good stuff happens. Really cool stuff happens. And one of the things I love about being a business chair is seeing groups coalesce. And in most cases, the 5 of the 6 leadership programs in Vistage are non-competing companies across a wide range. And what's unique about the Vistage Inside program is that the group is comprised of people from all one company. And it's thrilling for me to see a group coalesce and begin to collaborate in ways that are new for them and that accrue to the benefit of the firm. And you've already, in a very short time, have leveraged the group meetings to really work on a couple of really significant initiatives for the company that are of profound strategic importance. And it's really exciting for me to see that collaboration emerge at a new level. So thank you, Raja, for sharing that. Let's talk about that group a little bit. And I'm going to start with you, Roger, and then invite you to jump in, John. What do you hope they'll take away as leaders, and how will that benefit McQuilling? Roger, let's start with you first.
I think that what I hope is that they learn to be patient with leadership, and learn to be patient with, because I think that what's can be lost in leadership is that it's as much about listening than it is talking, and just hearing, instead of sitting here and thinking about, well, we have this problem. I want to hear it from the other way around. I want to hear what their view of the problem is, and is it a problem, and what should we do about it? And not to make sure that the people that they are leading, whether it's someone that's heading a department, is open to that feedback and make sure that they're listening.
Right.
Now, listening doesn't mean that you do what people are telling you to do. It's just, it helps you deal with a problem in the correct way, or deal with an opportunity in the correct way, just to make sure that you're not, you can't just be inside your own head. You have to have a complete picture.
What I'm hearing, Roger, is you have an increased appreciation of different perspectives, different from your own.
Which this group does help with that, because now we all have our different perspectives. And
yes,
I could say that in talking about some of these topics, and initiatives, as you put it, that are going, I'm thinking differently about them from being in those meetings, just from hearing people speak and hearing what their ideas are.
Yeah.
So good ideas come from everywhere, and you have to make sure that you're that you're taking that stuff in and listening to what people are saying.
Yeah.
To help you formulate your leadership plan.
Yeah. One of the things that your comments bring to mind is the Vistage decision-making model. And there are really three transitions in that model based on the complexity of the issue that you're dealing with. Very simple issues. Most leaders can solve them just by their gut, just by their intuition. The more complex the issues become, you need data to make really informed decisions. At the highest level of complexity, you need not only intuition, you need not only data, but you need perspectives different from your own to force you to think differently. And it's at that most complex problem level that the divergent perspectives become so important. And most leaders, a lot of leaders, they think that all they need is their gut and then some data. You need those things, but you need much more than that, which you're touching on, which I love. John, and how do you think that will help benefit McQuilling, Roger?
Well, I think, like I said before, we've managed to grow, pretty big, and it's been great. And our vision is to keep growing. But I think that, we will be able to grow bigger, faster, and, more efficiently, because we do, we've done it with the same basic structure. And it's not, I'm not saying that doesn't work, but I think for the future, if we're going to get bigger, and, I think, first of all, it will allow us to grow bigger and more efficiently, but also having more people invested in that.
Yes.
I remember just going back to when we just started growing and how, we spent a lot of time and John Lucas spent a lot of time just having to convince the other shareholders that, this is what we needed to do. I want everybody to want to do this, right? I want people that are shareholders of this company that have the same vision. And,
yes.
20 years ago, we didn't have that necessarily, I'm not going to say luxury, but you had people that were all brought together already, right? So maybe some of them didn't have that vision. But it's funny, after the growth happened and after the success was there, then everybody was like, oh, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Glad we do it, right? John can attest to that.
Sure.
Like it was hard. It was a big effort just to get people moving in that direction. So it will benefit us if everybody's already moving in that direction and wants to move in that direction.
Yeah, and the company is larger and much more complex now than at its founding. One of the things that your comments bring to mind is the notion that organizations are organisms. They are living organisms. They're constantly changing, constantly evolving. And I hear that perspective in what you're saying, that McQuilling has evolved. It is continuing to evolve. It is a bigger organism, a more complex organism. And evolution and growth gets more complex the bigger you are and the more complex you are. That's true in biology, and it's true in corporations as well. John, your perspective, what do you hope the members of the Vistage Inside group will take away as leaders, and how do you envision this benefiting McQuilling?
Well, for the group that, again, is involved in the Vistage Inside, the 12 people that are involved in the Vistage Inside, and I mentioned earlier about my hands off on that particular bit. They were chosen by Roger and another fellow that's Stefanos, who is shown leadership potential, right? I left it up to them to decide who, in this first Vistage group, because I can see us continuing to do this with, as we go forward. I'm sure Roger would agree with me on that. What it does is and Roger did hit on that. It gives them investment. It gives them a sense of ownership of the company.
Right.
And what is important as we do get bigger and more complicated, if you will, is that it provides a fresh and new perspective, continuing fresh perspectives on where this company should go. And you talked about my desire to see this legacy continue. Absolutely, but it needs to continue, under fresh, always refreshing itself, right?
Yes. Yes.
As long as everybody's bought into the philosophy, the overall philosophy of the group, and that's, we're all a team, and we all have, ownership in that. Then it's needed. Again, one of the big things for me on, and I'm sure you find it with other CEOs who are going through a transition and a succession is, we don't want to rest on our laurels. If I sat back and rested on my laurels, for lack of a better word, we're going to be dead in the water. This is becoming their company. It's becoming Roger's company, and it's becoming their company, and it's going to be their vision that takes the company through the next 50 years.
Yes.
I think, again, the platform of Vistage Inside is the first step in that, and it's the first step in allowing them to, as Roger said, understand who he is, right, and give him insights into who he is and his. But also that it gives them the opportunity to be open and frank with each other.
Sure.
Which is what I found with the CEO, Vistage CEO group, that even though we come from different industries, don't really know each other, there's a trust there. There's a trust to be able to help each other out with whatever issues our specific businesses are presenting to us, and I think that's coming about in the inside as well, and that's just going to make McQuilling more powerful.
Sure.
and stronger. So.
Yeah. John, I want to pick up on something you said that's so important and pull back the curtain a little bit. The three of us know this, but I want to make sure the audience is aware of it as well. You talked about the trust that you've experienced in the CEO group and the really key condition that needs to be in place for that trust to grow is confidentiality. I've appreciated the fact that from the very beginning, when you were talking about the Visage Inside program, that you wanted to rigorously maintain the confidentiality of your group, the CEO group, which of course is a given, but you wanted that same level of confidentiality with the Visage Inside group. And you said, let's keep them completely separate because they need to have confidence that their conversations, the conversations that happen in their room, stay in that room. So that they can build trust among themselves, within themselves, and build a kind of powerful learning environment that you have to have confidentiality for that to develop. And I've appreciated that you've been unwavering, you've been very clear, very strong, and very unwavering in that, which I think has accrued to the benefit of the Visage Inside group itself. So I appreciate your perspective on that.
Yeah, that's very important. If those individuals were thinking that that what was going on and it was coming back to me and whatever, they wouldn't be as open. That's not. They need to be that way. They need to. Again, it's their strategic vision that's going to go forward the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Sure. Roger, last question. I'm going to start with you and then go to John. What value have you received from Vistage, and how's it helping you as a leader?
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, it's what I've been learning in Vistage since this started. So the first one was in March. A lot of that's in my head, and it comes in my thought process without me even thinking about it.
Huh.
I'm looking forward to the next session, which is in a couple of weeks. And the way that it's set up is really so engaging. Having the speakers and, and getting different perspectives, whatever their specialty is, I just can't wait to hear the next one because I don't know where it's going to go. And the first two have helped me. And Jeff, you have certainly helped as well. And it's just a great compliment is, going through, hearing the speaker and then spending the second half just going through and working through problems together and different scenarios. And it really has just been a great experience. So I'm just looking forward to continuing to enrich my repertoire of different things that are going through my head that are helping me just every day. So without even having to think about it.
Yeah.
I don't even have to consult my little Vistage thing, which I take with me on my business trips just in case I need to look at it again.
You mean the 12 norms? Yes. Yeah. No, that's an important thing for me and for really all my groups are the 12 norms that we remind ourselves when we step into that room. These are the 12 promises that we've made to ourselves and to the other member in the group to really create the conditions for everyone to flourish. And I love the fact that you carry that little.
I have one on my desk next to me here and one in my travel bag.
I love that. One of the things that you touched on that I think is so important, you talked about, you've learned so much and it's in your head. One of the things that I observe time and time again, that the barriers that CEOs face in their challenges and opportunities and decisions and issues that they face, certainly there are external factors, things that they're dealing with in their workforce, in the market, whatever it might be. The biggest limitations are really the self-limiting beliefs, the blind spots that we carry inside our brain. I really appreciate how quickly that you've come to that, Roger, as such a significant takeaway. So thank you for sharing that. John, what value have you received from Vistage and how is it helping you as a leader?
Well, is the expression "it's lonely at the top," right? There are times I have felt that way. Roger hit on it earlier about a bunch of our former partners not really wanting to be partners, but not really wanting to be the icebreakers and go through and build this thing. One thing that I've been very fortunate, and I'll say it, Roger's on the phone or on the video here, but one thing I've been very fortunate, Roger's always shown a proclivity to being more than just a shipbroker, right? Wanting to be involved in the aspects of growing this company from a young age, and that's when we decided to open up in Houston, Roger put his hand up and he's a New Yorker, but he said I'm there, and he's been there ever since. So what Vistage has helped me with is that again, what I face and the things that CEOs face, I'm not alone. It's amazing that everybody approaches and has the same sort of issues that I have, right? Or not issues or concerns or just the things that go through my head every day goes through their head every day.
Yes.
And I believe I told you at the last meeting that we had, you do your wall up there and it's like, okay, how are you feeling today, right? I think the last time I was anxious and something else, because the day had, our day, we're on a 24-hour clock in our business. My day had started much earlier with stuff going on in one of the overseas offices, and I was just, but I find after my meetings with Vistage that, and I told you, it's like I feel great afterwards. I talk things out, and people talk things out, and I'm able to help them. They're able to help me, and it's like it's like working out. I get an endorphin rush.
Yes, yeah,
and I get a huge. I just get huge insights from it. Which, again, when looking back on creating Vistage Insight for McQuilling, for me that feeling was so good that I couldn't translate to the guys how I was feeling, but I knew it was important for them to feel the same way, right? For them to feel, this pathway.
Yes.
And so, that's really what I've gotten out of it. I look forward to the meetings.
Yeah, thank you, John. I really, and you've said that on several occasions that you come in sometimes worrying and feeling lonely at the top, and you leave energized. Really appreciate that. And I can say, as the Vistage chair of the groups, I should say, that I get an endorphin from seeing the energy in the group. It's really a marvelous experience to look out, both in the CEO group, John, that you're a part of, and the Vistage Inside group, Roger, that you're a part of, and to see the energy, the connection, the hopefulness, the new perspectives. It's such a thrill to see, and it's a real privilege. I want to thank both of you for your remarks today. Learned so much, not only about McQuilling, but most importantly about the thought process that went into launching a Vistage Inside group for the next generation of leaders at McQuilling Partners to continue its legacy. It's a wonderful story, and it speaks volumes about both of your commitments to investing in the development of the leaders of McQuilling Partners. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff.
For your perspectives. This was great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate being invited on. Thank you.
You bet.
Bye-bye.